இருக்கே ஒரே.
வீட்ல மாடியில
ஆ.
பேக்ரவுண்ட் மாத்திரம் ட்ரை பண்ணேன். அதுவே சரி அதுவே வச்சுக்கோங்க.
நல்லா இருக்கு. மாடி ஃபோட்டோ அது இல்ல?
மாடி கிராமத்துல.
ஆ. நெறைய செடி வச்சிருக்கீங்களே, அழகா இருக்கு.
கொரோனா முடியட்டும் மேம், நம்ம எல்லாம் போலாம் இருங்க.
கொரோனா முடியிற மாரி தெரியலையே. கொரோனான்னு ஒண்ணு முடியாது போல இருக்கே.
Shall we begin the program?
Yes, sir.
We are ready.
Sir, I request Suresh sir to give the welcome address.
Very good evening, one and all. Today, I can say that the topic which were not covered by most of the speakers over here, caregivers mental health. I think this is the topic very less talked in our mental health series. And today with us our core team member, Dr. Veena Vani. She is an homeopathic doctor and she is specialized in psychotherapy and she is having more than 3 masters in psychology related program. I welcome today's speaker for today's webinar. On behalf of the Department of Psychology, American College Madurai and Madras School of Sociology Chennai, M.H. Chellamuthi Institute Madurai, Red Pond Education Psychological Research Center Madurai and Psycho-Oncological Association Turkey. I welcome you, Dr. Veena Vani, for this webinar session. I welcome all the core team members and the participants over here. Wholeheartedly, I welcome you for this program. Over to you, Akshaya.
Thank you, sir. I'm really glad to introduce the speaker for the day, our dear Veena ma'am, who had always been a very important part of this webinar session, always giving support and making sure that she does her job even if it is a difficult time. And an official introduction about her. Dr. Veena ma'am, she has been working as a She has 7 years of experience as assistant professor of psychology for physiotherapy students and postgraduate students in Tamil Nadu Open University. She has also been working in a corporate setup as wellness consultant for the past 3 years. She has participated in over 50 national and international conferences and workshops. She has presented over 20 papers and received 3 Best Paper Awards and published the same in international and national journals. She is one of the advisory council member of Merikit Therapists and Mentors, which is global platform that is working on improving mental health well-being. I'm really happy that she is one of the presenter right now in our series. We welcome you, ma'am, and over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Suresh Kumar sir, and thank you so much, Akshaya, and also Subhashri ma'am, Krishnan sir, and all the core team members for always being for one another. This support means a lot to each one of us, definitely. And this topic today, what I have chosen, is also very close to my heart because most of the times it is an overlooked topic in our cultural context. And I always believe if we don't address a problem or an issue, it doesn't mean the problem doesn't exist. So yesterday when we were all having a panel discussion, Krishnan sir told about a few life incidences, and this gave me an insight to explore more on the caregiver's perspective as well. So this topic I want to dedicate to Krishnan sir because he is the one person who is very much wants to know more about the caregivers aspect. And I thank Suresh Kumar sir for always being there, motivating and always encouraging to come up with new topics. So thank you both. And here we go. Akshaya, can you put it on slide share or okay? Before I start the topic, I just want to know what is your understanding of a caregiver? Can you please type in the chat box? Or you could unmute yourself and answer. What is your understanding of a caregiver? Can someone answer? Yeah,
One who
parents.
has a dependent people at home, whoever it may be.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Usually in our context or anything, usually the caregivers are unpaid help, no, as a family member who takes care of people who are dependent, who have prolonged illness, or people who have some sort of mental illness. And these caregivers, they do certain they have their own functions like giving emotional. Akshay, can we have the slide? Next slide. Yes. These are a few functions of the caregiver. They give the emotional support. They sometimes manage the financial needs of the person who is dependent, and also certain service access. Sometimes what happens, a person who is having prolonged illness might be needing a few support systems, like a person who is bedridden for a long period of time might be needing, apart from the medications, he might be needing a few facilities like physiotherapy or occupational therapy or some sort of speech therapy or some sort of palliative care sort of. This caregiver is a person who takes the responsibility of finding such services and providing for the concerned person. And also sometimes what happens, caregivers play a crucial role for adhering the treatment. uh, there are most cases that are reported that during a palliative care, most of the patients, they don't adhere to the treatment. So caregiver plays a crucial role in making the decisions whether to take up the treatment or not. And also housing. Sometimes what happens, it will be a burden for someone to take care of a person in their home. So at that time, this caregiver should take responsibility or will be taking a decision to access the resources that will be giving proper facilities for people like who are in need of care. And they will be choosing places where good facilities are given for. And also sometimes shopping is needed for their medicines or for their certain accessories or whatever needs are there. And also preparing the meal according to the the person's need. Sometimes when old people are there, they will be having low sodium levels. Sometimes when the sodium levels comes down, the patient becomes a little bit disoriented. This will be camouflaging the symptoms of dementia as well. So you should be taking proper precautions while preparing the meal. Okay, sometimes the patient might be having diabetes, the patient might be having hypertension. So accordingly the meal preparation should be there, and this responsibility falls on the caregiver. And also transportation. Sometimes when the person is in need of consulting the physician, or sometimes they have to be like shifted to some other places, the transportation also has to be taken care of by the caregivers. And when it comes to paperwork, I don't know many how many of you know about this writing will in western countries. When you look in, advocating this will is something very much legal, and most of the medical facilities there are through proper channels. In our cultural context, many of us doesn't know. Sometimes it is the right of the patient to take no the decision of his death, the decision where he has to die, or the decision what has to be done after his death, where he has to get buried. All these things are written as a will, and they are documented with a legal advisor along with the physician and along with the caregiver. So such sort of important documentations, important paperwork becomes a responsibility of a caregiver as well. And also sometimes unexpected crisis will be occurring. So to tackle this crisis also, the caregiver has to be always be ready, be prepared. The next slide, Akshaya. Akshaya.
I
Yes.
have changed the
Yes,
slides.
yes, yes. So it's not just you give no caregiving is sometimes it is struggle, it's a little bit of struggle, because you never know, like when the person who is disabled will be diagnosed with the disease. Sometimes it will be a shock for the caregiver because it is an unexpected thing. So the onset of the disease or the diagnosis of the disease, whether the disease is going to have a good prognosis or the disease is going to have a bad prognosis, so all sort of things. And if the patient is mentally unstable, or if he is having any sort of mental health issues, so it will be a shock for the caregiver, because he doesn't know what to expect, in what moment, how the patient is going to behave, whether he is going to become aggressive or whether he is going to have any sort of
சாரிங்க
episodic
மன்னிக்கணும்
behavior.
ஐயா உங்களை
For
நான் வேற
instance, if you take, if the patient is a bipolar, the patient will have episodic behavior and he will be having a lot of mood swings. It will be like the depression altered with maniac state. So these things are unexpected, and the caregiver has to have a little bit knowledge of what has to be expected. So this is one burden. And also sometimes caregiving demands, it impacts on his work, because he will be having his own professional life. So that will be having a huge impact when you are about to take care of a person. Okay. And also sometimes they will not be ready with the financial commitments. And also there will be lot of stigma, social stigma associated with it. Many a times what happens, even though caregivers try to make out some time, even though they try to give their best of their time to the patient, sometimes what happens is people will be blaming them for not taking them proper attention of the patients. And this has to have a no this has the stigma has to be broken, or we have to like educate people regards to the burdens of caregiver, so that the immediate family members or people who are surrounding can really understand the woes and burdens of caregivers. And also sometimes what happens, these people will not be able to mingle with any of the family functions or family get-togethers. They'll not be having their own social lives. So social isolation is also one of the caregivers' demands. And also sometimes these people will have inadequate help. Like I told you, they'll not be knowing like how the prognosis of the disease is going to be, or what they are going to expect. And sometimes these caregivers will be very much unprepared for what's going to happen. So the navigation will be a problem. Sometimes they don't know like whom to approach for what problem. If the physician is good, if the physician gives them good advice, or if the physician refers them to a good person, well and good. Sometimes what happens is they'll not be knowing to know access people for their problems. So sometimes they'll not know what to do, where to get certain counseling sessions for the patients, where to get physio for the patients, or where to get concerned experts. Okay, sometimes you might be needing a nutritionist, the advice of a nutritionist, and these people will not be knowing whom to approach, how to approach. And also respite, I'll talk about respite in the forthcoming slides. Ananya, Akshaya, next slide please. These will be a sort of emotional reactions, so we will talk a lot about it. Next slide, Akshaya. So principles of support. See, we will see the individual first and not the illness, isn't it? We always tend to like look about the patient will be a family member known to us, and all of a sudden it becomes that the patient is going to be bedridden, or the patient is dependent on you. So that is one thing. The other thing is we recognize the mental illnesses or medical illnesses that may be having environmental triggers. So these caregivers will not be knowing which environmental triggers are going to worsen the condition. Then so these people have a knowledge about this thing. the other thing is these caregivers should be encouraged to know about the coping skills, and also sometimes they should form a support group so that they could share about their experiences. Sometimes when you start sharing your experience, that will be very helpful for the other person. Sometimes your own life experiences will be teaching a lot to other persons. Sometimes that will be becoming a solution for other person's problem also. And also sometimes this will give you no, this support will give you to reject the stigma, as well as to become less tolerant for discrimination. Sometimes they might be having this social stigma, whether people will be accepting us, whatever we do, people will not be like, sometimes they become judgmental and they say you're not doing good, you're like causing more pain, you're no, causing a lot of pain to the patient, instead of you being supportive with them. Sometimes there will be a guilt for them. So these support groups will help them to overcome those guilt. Sometimes humor is one thing they have to get, they have to embrace. It happens so that they'll not be having time for their own personal life, for their own professional life, because this is an extra burden for them. They have to really take out some time for the persons who are concerned, who are bedridden, or who are tackling with these illnesses. And also sometimes this support group will give them to really know what the exact problem is, and what are the what to say, what exactly their goals can be, or whether what they are expecting is within their normal limits, or whether they are expecting something beyond what is achievable. Sometimes they really come to know, like there is going to be a limit, and every problem cannot be solved. So this understanding can come when they have the support group. And also, like they can have realistic goals, and sometimes it gives a hope for the caregivers as well. Next slide, Akshaya. These are a few studies that are done on the caregivers, and many studies have to be done in our Indian scenario as well. These are a few studies that are done in the Western countries regarding to the psychological cause of schizophrenia to a family, and also age related. Mostly these caregiver and dementia, people who have dementia, or people who are old age, or people who are suffering with cancer, the palliative patients. These are the studies that are done mostly, but in our cultural context, the studies have to be done even more. Next slide, Akshay. So when it comes to caregiver, we know, like the person who is going to take care of a person who is disabled. It can be a old person, or it can be child, or it can be anyone. There are different types of caregivers. One is the family caregiver. It goes without any norms, like a family person is the one who gives the emotional support, or the financial support, or whatever it is. It goes without any rules, no hard rules for this. The second one is the professional caregiver. That is the person who is taking care of the medical aspects. It could be their family doctor. It could be a person who is giving them medical advice. It could be the physiotherapist. It could be the occupational therapist, or the counselor, or the social worker, anyone. The second and third one will be the independent caregiver. I mean, sometimes there are a few agencies which work together, which really do such sort of caregiving services, which yes, yes, sir. These are the caregivers, different types of caregivers I'm talking about. So, and these people are trained to give no, their services coming to the homes, and these are paid caregivers. The other one is informal caregivers. So these people can be like a neighbor. Sometimes, no, when the parents don't have their children living with them. Usually, the neighbors will be taking care, or an extended family member will be taking care of. And usually, I mean, they'll not be expecting any sort of monetary benefits from them. It is out of, yes, it is out of their goodwill, their good Samaritans are still there in this world. So out of empathy, out of compassion, out of unconditional love and support, a few people will be taking care of old people in their neighborhood and all. And also volunteer caregivers. There are certain NGOs, certain institutions, and if you look in the Western countries, there are a few college students, university students who principally follow these, and they volunteer themselves, they enroll themselves that they will be taking care. Even in the weekends also they can do this work. So there are a lot of support groups also for these people. It is a sort of community service, which they will be doing on their own. No one forces them, or no, it is out of their responsibility towards the society, or these people will be feeling the purpose and meaning of life, which we talked a lot in our webinar series. So this is one type of voluntary caregivers. The next one, Akshaya. Yeah, when these three criterias are coming, then you know that you are a caregiver. Like at any time in past year, you provided unpaid help or arranged for help to a relative or friend with an illness or disability that left the person unable to do something for himself or herself, or who needed assistance due to getting older. See, caregiving doesn't mean it is provided only to people who are in bedridden condition, who will not be becoming good. See, caregiving is if a friend has a fracture, he meets an accident and he gets fractured or some injury, he will be bedridden for a brief period of time. And if you take care of that person for that brief period of time, then also you are considered as a caregiver. So caregiver need not be always pertaining to old age, need not be always pertaining to palliative care, need not be always pertaining to the adult people taking care of the old people. It can be anyone. Okay, this kind of, and the second criteria will be the kind of help involved assistance with household chores, financials, personal and medical needs. So it doesn't mean always you have to give assistance to the medical needs alone. It could be with the household chores also, it could be with the financial parts also. Sometimes what happens, old people doesn't know how to handle the money. So if you help them in their financial commitments as well, this is also no, you are supposed to be a caregiver. And the third criteria will be the person who needed help lived in his or her own home, in your home or another caregiver's home, any place. It could be any place, nursing home, your home, or anywhere. If you have helped a person, then you are known as a caregiver. Okay, sometimes what happens during floods in Chennai, many were abandoned, and many of the good people have opened their doors for their neighbors. That time those neighbors are called the caregivers, isn't it? So caregiver is not always about the disabled, about the deceased persons. It's also the help you do for the needy people, people who are in need. The next slide, Akshaya. So who is providing a care? When we look at the statistics, men count for 17% and women count for 83%, isn't it? Even Mother Nature is a caregiver, and we address nature as mother. So that says like women are the no uh, they obviously are on a high rate of giving care. And also like when you look at the age groups, people with 60% needs caregivers, and people who are below 30, they will be needing 4% of caregivers, because sometimes they'll be having prolonged illnesses. The next one, Nakshaya. So, who are caregivers? Parents, usually, siblings, spouse, or domestic partners. Sometimes other people like extended families. Sometimes what happens is even children are caregivers. If you happen to know about, I mean, in a few years ago, there was a news in Tamil news channels, like a child who is studying ninth standard or 10th standard, both her parents are bedridden. I think mother is mentally unstable and father is bedridden. This child used to take care of all the household chores. She took care of her younger brother as well, and she used to go to the school, study and come. And she was having some financial burden that time, and she stopped going to school, and this became a news. After that, few of the volunteers came forward and they helped the girl to continue her studies. So it's not all the time the parents or people or the adult people have to be the caregivers. Sometimes even children also become caregivers. The next slide. Akshaya, next slide. So this is statistics like how many are employed. The next slide, Akshaya. So this is a model that was tested. What are the psychological distresses? We will be talking about this. Akshay, can we move on to the next slide? Akshaya? Yes. So, what is contributing to most of the caregiving distress? One thing will be caregivers' own personal health problems. Sometimes, what happens is because of lack of time, because inadequacy of their own self care and everything, they will be not acknowledging their own problems. That is one thing. The second one thing is these caregiving demands frequently assisting with the ADL and IADL. ADL is the activity activities of daily life, like helping the patient with their bath, with their daily activities, like taking food, taking medicines, everything, day to day activities, whether they are going to bed at right time, whether they are having proper sleep, whether they are able to take proper nourishment or not. IADL accounts for the um, what to say, very pertinent activities of daily life, like shopping, like getting medical support, like doing some sort of financial assistance for them. All these things come under IATLs. So, and also caregiving also demands like frequent supervision, because we never know like what the patient is going to need. So it is always, you have to be prepared for the unexpected. Always be prepared for the unexpected. What time you will be needing for the patient, you really never know. So you have to be in a position to monitor him, monitor the patient, what are his needs, whether the medications are there, whether the medications are getting over or you have to replenish them, whether the patient is having proper nourishment or not, whether you have to provide extra supplements. All these things, supervision from like the caregiver has to monitor the patient, sir. So this is like the patient or the person will be under the supervision of the caregiver. So frequent supervision is the caregiver is supervising the patients, or the caregiver is monitoring the person. So this is frequent supervision. And also, like I told you, concern with medication discontinuation. And also, like sometimes these caregivers will not be having any social support. Sometimes the risk or the burden will always be on them, though there will be, like for instance, I'll tell you, if in a family, if the parents have say 3 children or 4 children also, this caregiving responsibility will be falling on only one son or one, no. Sometimes what happens, most of the daughters, they get married. That times they are not in a position to come and take care of their mother or father, no. In our cultural context, that's quite normal, isn't it? So, these are a few things where the caregiver cannot get any substitute. So what is the solution for that? We'll go through that, okay? In the coming slides, I'll tell you the solutions as well. And also sometimes the caregivers will be having perceived financial burden, and most of the times, no, whatever work they do, whatever it is, they'll not receive appreciation, they'll not be having any token economies or any reward sort of thing. So they need that motivation, isn't it? Even a small word of appreciation will really change their perspectives. The next slide, Akshaya. This is regards to a study, and also the caregivers who have highest level of demands are usually the partners. Okay, old age, if you look at the old age, the wife will be taking care of the husband, or the husband will be taking care of the wife. And also relatively young parents of young care recipients, usually the parents are no slightly older parents of slightly older adults. For instance, when you look at young people, they'll be having their father and mother, and also their grandparents. So their father mother will be the caregivers for their grandparents. So these are the people who are in the highest levels of demand as caregivers. The next one, Akshaya. Okay. Caregiving is rewarding but stressful. Why? Because sometimes people who experience caregive stress can be vulnerable to changes in their own health. Like I told you, they'll not be more focusing on their own self. They'll not be having much time to uh, taking care of their professional and personal life. And there are a few risk factors for caregiver stress. A few are like I told you, most of the women will be the caregivers. So being a female, one thing. Second thing is having fewer years of formal education. So most of us really don't know what proper caregiving is about, because we don't have any universities or any institutions that are giving us formal education in these aspects. So this is a must, and probably in the forthcoming years we hope and wish that such sort of courses will be coming. And also, like living with the person you are caring for, sometimes it will be very painful. Okay, the person whom you are loving will be in pain, unbearable pain, and each day they will be no coming to end of their life. That will be very painful for you looking at them. A person who was very active, now he is like a vegetable. Okay, totally confined to the bed. That will have a huge impact emotionally on the caregiver. So this is one of the risk factors. Second one is social isolation. Like I told you, they'll not be having any other social life. Okay, always if ever they get some sort of time, a little bit of time, they will be like taking rest, or sometimes the patient will be usually constantly keep on calling them. Every 5 minutes they'll be calling, come here, what are you doing, what is that, I need that, I need this. Because sometimes only when the caregiver is beside them, the patient will be feeling a little bit comforted. Okay, this is one of the next thing is sometimes they'll be having depression that can be attributed to aging. And as most of the females are doing, they will be usually beyond their menopausal or attaining their menopause. That time you naturally they'll be having this sort of a depression. Over added to that, this also will account for the depression as well. And financial difficulties, we have talked a lot. Lack of coping skills and difficulty solving problems. Like I told you, many of the caregivers really don't know what are the coping mechanisms, how to cope with anxiety, how to cope with distress, how to cope with their mood swings, how to cope with the irritability, the fear, and a lot of apprehensions. And also lack of choice in being a caregiver. Sometimes they really will not be having any choice. All the roads will be blocked for them, and they are stuck with this caregiving responsibility. The next slide, Akshaya. Okay. Okay. What are the signs of caregiver stress? Feeling overwhelmed or constantly worried, feeling tired often, getting too much sleep or not enough sleep, gaining or losing weight, and becoming easily irritated, angry, which I talked about, feeling sad, having frequent headaches, bodily pains, and also sometimes no, they really wanted to overcome all these things. So they might no get into abusing alcohol or drugs. Sometimes what happens, usually the doctors will be prescribing certain mood stabilizers or antidepressants for mental health issues. So these caregivers will be like misusing those medications, because they really don't know how to combat with all this pain, with their anger, with their frustration, with their irritability and everything. There are lot of chances where the prescribed medicines are abused by the caregivers. So this is one alarming reason that there should be proper formal training for caregivers. Okay. And also too much stress, usually over a long period of time, when you have some sort of lowness, mood swings and all these things, it will be leading to chronic mental health problems when they really don't know how to tackle with them. So definitely there will be, this will be a sort of predisposing factor for them, and this will be driving them to have some sort of mental health issues in later period of time when it is unattended. The next slide, Akshay. So, what will be the strategies where you can cope up with caregiving stress? One thing is you accept help. Whenever you feel like this is my limit, beyond this, I cannot do anything, you please ask for help from your family members. Okay, next thing is focus on what you are able to provide. Do, like I told you, you always set goals which are which you could attain, or which are achievable, which are within your limits. Okay, beyond that you don't stretch yourselves. Okay, and also always set realistic goals and get connected. No, sometimes it is always better to for you to get connected with any of friends or with any of the family members, sometimes no, with the physicians, with the persons who are no giving you medical assistance. Always get connected with them. The next slide, Akshay. Okay. Uh, yes, you can seek social support. Like I told you, any family members or people who will not be judgmental about you. Sometimes, like I told you, set personal health goals. Though you are a caregiver, a little bit of self care, self compassion is very much needed. When you are active, then only you will be able to serve the other person. When the cup is empty, how could you give for them? So you have to fill in yourself so that you can give that care to other persons. So many caregivers have issues with sleeping, not getting quality sleep, not having quality food, not having quality lifestyle. They will forego everything. They'll not be having any physical activity, physical exercise, forget everything. They'll not be having even time to sit in one place and take rest for 5 minutes. And also the next thing is see your doctor. See, as much as the medical condition, as much as the health of the patient is important, the physical mental health of the caregiver is also very important. So always make an appointment with your doctor, have regular visits, and do take care about yourself. That is for the caregivers. The next slide, Akshay. This is respite care. This is very interesting topic. I don't know, when I was going through lot of things, I got across this respite. Respite is no a facility where when you want to go out, really you want to take a break of your mundane caregiving routine lifestyle, you want to take a break for 1 day or 2 days, there are a few homes that will be taking care of the patients, or they will be sending people to take care. So in-home respite is healthcare aides comes to the home and provide companionship or nursing services. Okay, adult care centers are also there, and they conduct a few programs where they will be enlightening people about caregiving and what are the problems, because sometimes you have to be really educated about the medicines the patient is taking. Sometimes what happens when you are in stressful conditions, sometimes what happens, you will be like instead of giving one medicine, you will be like giving the other medicine. So what to do in those situations, so how to overcome those things. So they will be educating you about the medicines, they will be educating like how much of dosage has to be given, or what happens when the medicine is given, what will be the adverse effects of of it, when whom to approach in those scenarios. Or sometimes what happens when the patient is diabetic, like I told you, diabetic or hypertensive, sometimes the sugar levels will go low. When hypoglycemic condition happens, the patient will be in a state of comatose state. I mean, the patient will become unconscious. In that time, what will be you doing? If it is a night time, imagine the plight of the caregiver. So at that time, you could just give him a spoon of sugar, or you could give him chocolate. That's the reason usually doctors will advise, no for any diabetic patient, they will say always keep some sort of sugar in your pocket. So whenever they have this symptom of tiredness or giddiness, or if they feel like they are going to faint, they'll ask them to put the chocolate or sugar in their mouth, so that the glucose levels don't get fluctuated, they don't dip. Okay, this is one thing. And short-term nursing homes are also available. See, we see lot of old age homes mushrooming up. Okay, but I don't know how far they are authenticated, how far they are giving these services with formal trained people. So it's always better we know, like, these are the, things, or these are the criterias that has to be met by a caregiver. The next slide, Akshay. So, why is individual counseling helpful for family caregivers? We are talking about, like, what are the psychological distress and everything for the caregivers, and how, as mental health professionals, we can help them. See, counselor can tailor treatment the needs of individual. This is a universal law. Usually, we always have a tailor-made treatment for each and every individual. So even for caregivers, this applies. And also, counseling can occur in a time and place convenient for the caregiver. Sometimes the counselors can go visit and take up sessions, or they can have tele counseling, or nowadays we are doing lot of online counselings. So this can be a part of platform for them to, like, really come out of their own woes. And also, caregiver can establish a relationship with counselor. Sometimes you need some sort of advice and support when you are low, when you are not in good mood. So if they build that rapport, that relationship or bonding with the counselor, I'm not talking about the transference and counter transference here, it is like a support. Okay, so they could feel, no, okay, someone is there to at least listen to me. And also, caregiver becomes aware of need to involve other family members in, sometimes these counselors can help to talk with other family members. And no, the burden can be like, or the responsibility can be shared by other family members as well. The next slide, Akshay. Now, and why family counseling is helpful for caregivers. Family members understand that person with dementia. No, sometimes what happens is old age people will be like that only. They don't consider that dementia is an illness. So counseling will help them to really know, to get to the crux of the problem and understand what are the woes of people with dementia, and what are the no difficulties faced by the caregivers. And also, family members understand, that people who are suffering with dementia do need social support. And people who are taking care of people with dementia, they also should have some sort of social support. And also, the family members can learn about the needs of the primary caregiver. This is very essential. Only when the other family members can understand what the primary caregiver really needs, so they can, like, come in, they can be handy, they can be helpful for them. And the primary caregivers learn what kind of support other family members would like to give. Like I told you, sometimes the daughters are not in a position to come and take care of their parents. So what happens, there will be a sort of misunderstanding, miscommunication, sort of, we have different family dynamics, different family roles, and all these things. So this counseling, family counseling, will really help the primary caregivers also to really know what is happening in a family structure. Okay, so this will this will help to resolve lot of problems, because most of the problems come with miscommunication and misunderstandings. So this will help resolve those problems as well. The next slide, Akshay. So family members can talk objectively about no the current problem, family conflicts. Like I told you, family conflicts about caregiving can be resolved, and also communication among family members improves once the family counseling comes into role. So all the disputes, all the misunderstandings, everything will be resolved, and family members will be aware of the counseling services as well. The next slide. And I told you about the support groups, why support groups are helpful. See, when you have a support group, it will definitely give you emotional strength, isn't it? Because more than the physical health, the emotional health is what that will be affected among the caregivers. So if you have a support group, definitely you will be having no so- a sort of uh, sort of fallback, no, and also it will really help them to cope. So you will learn about the coping mechanisms and coping skills. And also caregivers benefit from talking to others. Sometimes you really don't know to whom you can go and talk. No, that is what counsel as a counselor we always say, don't keep it inside yourself. You vent out your feelings, you have that catharsis, isn't it? So that sort of catharsis or the ventilation is very much needed for the caregivers, and they really don't know whom to approach, where to approach, with whom they could share these things. So if you have a support group, they will definitely have an idea that okay, these people are also undergoing the same problem, and these people can understand what my problem exactly is. I could discuss them with the problem without much no thinking. They will be able to explain their experiences. And also caregivers can get information about how to solve problems. Like I told you, when you are in a support group, one person's life experience will be a solution for another person's problem. So support group plays a pivotal role. The next slide, Akshay. Okay. uh, why is ad hoc is nothing but no very much pertained to that. Okay, uh, very much into that. That is one sort of Latin word, so don't be panicked about that. Okay, why counseling is helpful for caregivers? Because the counselor will be knowing what the caregiver exactly needs. Okay, and also caregiver can receive help without leaving home. Okay, because when he is in relationship, I mean when he is having professional relationship with the counselor knows like okay, the caregiver is having so and so problem, this is what he needs at this particular period of time. And also sometimes what happens is effects of dementia change over course of illness. Okay, the patient will be very good at one point of time he doesn't know, he'll be having disorientation, he'll not be able to carry out his ADL activities of daily life. So all these things, the counselor will be able to help the caregiver. And also in crisis, this will be your call to call your counselor and really have some coping mechanisms, or have some sort of ear that is lent for your hearing, or a shoulder where you could lean on. It's not in exact meaning, where you could get some sort of professional help in your crisis. The next slide, Akshaya. I think that's the end. And thank you so much for the opportunity. And I am like open for taking question and answers. I hope you enjoyed the session.
Yes, yes.
Yes, indeed, it was a wonderful session. A lot of information that which I had taken it as not that much uh, important to notice. those things you highlighted, and now I feel the importance of those things to be noted also, especially about caregivers. Whom do we consider as caregivers? That was a very important slide that I felt personally, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now I request participants to ask any questions if you want. Any questions if you want.
Yes, I think there is one question.
Question. Sorry. Sorry. Give me.
There are a few questions in the chat box, Akshaya. If you could-
Yeah, there are questions in the chat box.
The voice is echoing. So
For me, it's scrolling.
yeah, I'm doing.
Can I read for you?
Yes, ma'am, please.
My question to Dr. Ravindra Madam. When the caregiver gets burned out, what skills and tips can you suggest?
Ma'am, can you come again, ma'am?
When the caregivers get burnout,
Yes, yes.
what skills or tips can you suggest? Strategies to come out of various vicious cycle. How do you motivate themselves and bounce to normal and throw some light on this?
Yes, thank you so much for that. Yes, thank you so much for that question, ma'am. Though the caregiver is a person who is very resilient, at sometimes, like you said, the burnout will be there. If not the physical burnout, the emotional burnout will be there. Like I told you, they have to take time for themselves. They have to take out some time for their self care. And also, like I told you, the support groups will play an important role. The people who will be giving treatment for the patients also. So making companions, making friend groups, peer groups also will be helping them. Sometimes you need to be a little bit selfish and you have to take care of yourself first. So self care and self compassion plays an important role. Sometimes you have to that's the reason I told you about the respite home, what are the facilities that are available, and also about the volunteer caregivers. So all these services, they could take care of these services. It's echoing. Now it's okay, sir. It's
Yes, ma'am.
yes. So that's the reason I told you what are the facilities that are available. So these people can really make a choice which suits them better, and take out some time for themselves. Like I told you, they can like connect with people who are having similar problems. Support groups will come to their aid. And sometimes you have to take 1 or 2 days break, ask one of the family members or extended family or someone can come to rescue, and these people can take care of themselves.
The
I
other
hope.
questions are also sounding the same, so you have answered the question also.
Yes.
How caregivers can care themselves.
I have a question. Can I
Yes,
ask?
ma'am.
Because I got muted, so I don't know whether I can ask the question.
Please go ahead, sir. Krishnan sir.
Go ahead, sir. You're going this way. Thank you.
See, there is, say, for example, only child. Okay, the person, I mean, he's the only son or whatever. So he says, I have to take care. So how can I take care of, I cannot be a caregiver. So how to get this fellow onto board and, because the only child, but, these people, this guy is living in US, he is more worried about his job. And his mother is about 70 years old, living in my apartment. And that lady, she's in so much of distress. She has got ankle arthritis. She cannot move out. And whoever goes, she's crying. See, I don't go and trouble them. So a very long time since I have not seen. I went there, I had to listen to her, poor thing. 2 hours she was talking. So how these guys, how they will realize their responsibility? We can't do anything.
Uh, yes,
So what
Krishnan
is the
sir.
reason? What is the reason for them to be like that?
See, like I told you, there are different constraints. No, in this scenario, I'll not call the son as a caregiver. Okay, you being the neighbor, you are the caregiver in this scenario because you are taking care. Okay, so a caregiver is not a person who is only the family member. It can be any person, the neighbor, the friend, or anyone who really takes care of the person who is in need. So in this case, you can't say that son is the caregiver. Okay, being a neighbor, you feel it like you have to be compassionate, you have to be empathetic towards that 70-year-old lady, and you are being considerate. So in this scenario, you are the caregiver of that old lady. Hope I answered your question, Krishnan sir. Yes. There is a question from Pallavi, yeah, what if the caregiver has some sort of resistance, how the counselors can approach? See, Pallavi, a caregiver will approach a counselor only when they are willing to get the help. Okay, though initially if they have that sort of resistance also, when you are really in need of something, definitely you will overcome that resistance, because you will be approaching a counselor only when you feel like you need some sort of help, isn't it? Otherwise, why would you approach a counselor? Hope I answered your question.
Dr. Veena, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Yeah, it's not a question kind of. It is a scenario which I am seeing most of the that too Indian thing. See, I do understand the need for elderly care. I also understand the dependent has to be taken care. I also understand all the other aspects. It's the responsibility of the people who are normal, who are capable, who are actually the care, and I mean adult or a caregiver has to hold responsibility for taking care of them. But the most of the time the expectation from the entire family setup, and as well as the caregivers also, it is so unrealistic. Most of the time they want all the time somebody is to be there, and somebody has to give them their time more than what is actually they have come across all these, and they have settled in their life. They are now in the retirement, but the position of the youngster who's actually growing, who's in the career, how much time they are involved in the process, that and all, they don't actually take care, and they don't consider at all. The expectation is too high. So I could see also there is a kind of an unrealistic expectations, and as well as a kind of an rude kind of an overtly or a power oriented things are, I mean, expectation is also there from the other people, because they are dependent. You have to take care. Anything else, it is your duty, like that. Of course it is a duty, it is a responsibility of them, but they do have a life. They do have kind of an very important stage in their life, and because of somebody's ailment and somebody's illness, the others should not suffer at home. All this we must actually, as a mental health professional, has to really tell them, and propaganda about self-care and other things. But it is mostly missing with the caregiving profession. And in India, the caregiver's profession is not emerged in a kind of an formal way. If abroad, if you see, there is an entire profession which is given very well trained people in various sectors. So do you have an forum or kind of things where the caregivers have been given any kind of a training?
Um, Ma'am, there is a course in TNOU which deals with the post-graduation diploma in elderly geriatric counseling sort of. Uh, and there are a few other universities that are offering courses in geriatric counseling. Like I told you, this is an emerging field, and unlike Western countries, we don't have much studies, or we don't have much universities that are offering formal training in caregiving. That is what I told in the start of the session itself, and I've gone through the chat box that MSSW is providing such sort of certification course, and I really appreciate about it. And no, definitely, I think we people can get avail of this course, so that
But
no.
it is only for the elderly caregivers.
Yes,
Uh,
ma'am.
and
Like,
yeah, we are providing it as a certificate course, and we are giving them an orientation on geriatric, psychosocial, physiological aspects of development, and as well as what is the care and how it has to be, handled, and everyday living. All that is being put together in that. But I think caregivers as a term you used for a dependent, either a differently abled person at home or a mentally ill person at home, and especially if you really think of mentally retarded children at home and all, the caregiver burden is too high, no. So all that we need to really take care. Sorry, intellectually disabled kids. We are not supposed to mention MR now. So intellectually disabled children, all of them are need to be given kind of an orientation. So there should be a kind of a caregivers orientation, caregivers training in respective programs they are attending for their children itself. Don't you think it is very important for them also to take care of their life? And it is essential for them. If they are burnout, they may actually show it in their dependent only.
yes, definitely, ma'am. And I want to say something like in SCARF, they do have such sort of initiative, ma'am. They not only deal with people with mental health issues, they also focus on the well being of the caregivers as well. They'll be having monthly meetings, they'll be having, no, each caregiver will be coming, and they will be sharing their experiences. They have a few competitions also, which is a great initiative by SCARF. I hope no, many of the institutions do come forward with such sort of initiatives. Definitely, ma'am. And also a lot of things have to be done. So as psychology is very young field of study, many new things have to be incorporated, and many areas have to be really covered. And it's like, we really have to think over of the fields or the emerging trends. So not only in the research part, even in the process of offering courses also, because you are into an institution, probably you people can take the initiative where the future generations can get benefited, ma'am. So if you could really come up with courses, and if Suresh Kumar sir also like take some initiative and get a few courses like these certification courses or short-term courses, definitely it will be very beneficial for the future generations.
Dr.
Yes.
Tina, it is a really wonderful informative session, I can say. Even for me, there are many informations new to me in your
But
session.
one more question is there, Suresh.
Yeah,
Yes, regards to the assessment, there are a
Yeah.
lot of assessments, and the ADL checklist and IADL checklist, everything. I'll send it to you all. Okay, I'll send to uh, Akshaya, so that that will be like shared with all the participants. I'll share the PPT as well with you all. And if anything you need, please write in to us, so that we are here to send you all the resources which is available with us. Yes.
yes. Lina, I have a one question. It's,
Yes, sir.
that your main topic is about caregivers. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
What about the supporting staff in medical hospitals? For example, nurse and attendants who were there in the hospital. I think what kind of role will give them? They won't function
Sir, you mean to say the people who are taking care of the patients in the hospitals or in the medical setups? Sir, this applies to them as well. This applies to them as well. Like I told you, the caregiver is not a person who is only related, family related or friends. That's the reason I have given you the types of caregivers. In that, I have given like formally trained caregivers as well. So those people also come under this spectrum, sir. So they also have to, like I told you, this is one topic where none most of them will not be addressing on the issues of caregivers. Like I told you, not addressing the problem doesn't mean the problem is not existing. So this is one scenario where we have to focus more light on these issues. That's the reason I've requested that I'll take this topic today.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And I'll send all the assessments and everything, sir, so that we can share with our participants. So, any more questions?
Chat box. There is no question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if there is no more questions, again, I will be requesting Dr. Salim sir, if he's there, we can go for the vote of thanks. Or Dr. Salim sir, are you there, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
I kindly request Dr. Salim sir to give the vote of thanks.
Are you asking Salim sir or Suresh sir?
Salim
Both can
sir,
give.
Suresh sir, Subha ma'am, all are welcome.
Okay.
Let me congratulate. So Salim can continue with the vote of thanks.
Okay.
And Suresh sir can conclude.
One second. Since it's a core team members, we are very keen about no jumping to say not like that. Everybody is same for us. One very important aspect of this entire presentation, what I really inspired from Dr. Veena's one, it was like an entire the manual has been given caretakers manual. We can have a reference material like that. It has really covered the all aspects of physical, the entire psychological as well as the social aspects of everything has been covered holistically. And also, like if you really look into the concern for, she's into a lot of oncology patients she's taking care, and she is also keeping in mind that she wants to open a palliative care in the near future. She really wanted to have an own palliative care center. If she is thinking of caregivers as one of the very important aspect, she can actually come out with a beautiful work in further course, and we can jointly, Mrs. W as well as Suresh can jointly design a course and launch it also. Thank you, Veena, for a wonderful session. You have really thrown light. It is not just for the people who are working in medical or the other caregivers. You have also covered the entire spectrum of caregivers. I was really impressed with the detailed session on caregivers.
My
Thank
last
you.
one small question, can I ask?
Yes,
For
Sivakumarji. Yes.
Dr. Veena ma'am, or yourself, ma'am, I wanted to know where this palliative care course is happening in our like South India or anywhere, because it is very much required for persons who are working under this oncology, so where they get, to know
Yes.
about this palliative, and it is a very specialized like training sort of things. One has to undergo, then only he can treat those palliative care patients very well.
Yes, sir. Sir, when you look at Adyar Cancer Institute is offering a certification course for doctors and nurses. There is a Pallidum India,
Okay, okay.
which is offering online course, and that is for doctors, nurses, as well as for social workers and counselors. So if you look into Pallium India, you can really go through, and there is a course in Coursera as well, sir, which gives a
Okay.
specialization in palliative care. That's
Okay,
known
okay.
as palliative care, not hospice.
Okay, okay.
I've done the course. It is in collaboration with Colorado University, That course is very awesome, and I really recommend, if you are really interested, please do look into that course.
Yes, ma'am. Really, I'm interested actually.
So you can
And
check with
I
Coursera.
wanted to have in the context of our Eastern, like our Indian conditions, because they must be dealing mostly with the Western. Those there the practices and the way and the this thing, patients and all. Entirely different from them to us.
Yes, yes, sir.
Uh-huh. So that way
See,
also, yeah.
because
Please.
like I told you, in Western countries, the medical care is through insurance, so
Yeah,
it will be like properly channelized. And in our Indian context, no,
yeah,
those policies and reforms have to be streamlined a lot, sir. And even the
yeah.
policy makings, and like I told you about the will, making the will, and
Yeah, 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 yeah,
those
yeah. That
things,
is
the documentations,
uh-huh.
they are in a very primitive level in our Indian context. There
Context.
are
Yes.
available, but many aren't aware of that. That's why I wanted to no really come up with this topic, that caregiving is not a joke. There
Yeah,
is so much into this thing. So definitely,
yeah.
we will share the details of the course also as well, sir. Regards to the palliative care and everything, I'll share a course.
So I
Yes.
congratulate you, ma'am, for giving us such a wonderful and useful knowledge. So far nobody. You have dealt very nicely, and it is really needed. We will not get such a information from any other places, because you have done, I think, lot of research, and you have a lot of great experience on this. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Veena. Over to Salim, please.
Thank you, Shubham, ma'am. Thank you so much. Your feedback or your appreciations, whatever it is, it's always special to me.
Uh, Thank you of that. And it was a very good question. I think it's serious topic. This is the first, I think, session topic or whatever about the caregiver's life. As it is the maintenance for the caregiver. We deliver and caregivers. We started with the type of caregivers like family, professional, formal and informal. So today it was a very good eye-opening session about the caregivers life, about caregiving and the caregivers stress and what are the signs about physical and mental health, all those things. And particularly you talked about the respite care. So that is a very important. And then why is individual counseling is helpful to the family caregivers, and why is family counseling helpful to the care. So a lot of things we got. So ad hoc counseling helpful to the caregivers and caregivers professions. What are their kind of a lot, madam, lot of information. Kitchen sir asked Subhamam the very good questions, practical problems they ask, and of course it's a thirst area in academic. They have to take care of the like courses regarding. I think Suresh sir and Subhamam probably might have known this one. They can do some certification courses like short-term crash course. People who are in the mental health field, I think. So it was a very nice session. Thank you, madam. All thank participants, and I would like to thank you all participants and today's Madurai and Social Work Chennai and MS Chellamuthi Institute of Mental Health, Madurai Kamarajar University, and Red Pond Education Institute, and thank you.
Thank you, Salim sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Veena ma'am, for that wonderful session. Thank you so much. A lot of information for me personally. Thank you.
Thank you,
ma'am.
Akshaya. Thank you so much. I
Yes,
think,
Anya is also there, ma'am. Thank you.
oh, Ananya and Akshaya, both of you, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think Suresh sir is going to end the session with his signing address.
Suresh, sir. Oh, ma'am. I guess he's not there.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. I guess he got disconnected. Thank you so
Okay.
much. We will have more sessions with you. I'm so happy.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all. Thank you for your patience listening, and definitely we will come up with more and more topics. And I really wish Shubha ma'am and Suresh sir definitely take this request of us and do come with such sort of innovative courses which will be helpful for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.